Yeah, yeah, it's really hard to like turn the corner on that. All right, well, and then the last step, I want to get to the last step, is cancel.
Yeah.
So this is
Yep.
this is like the one of the other abilities, and it says you've learned how to cancel someone. Cancel will allow us to isolate people from their friends and compatriots. In battle, this could be a useful tool against enemies. So if you ignore like the game mechanical part of it and just look at what we're actually talking about, essentially,
Mm-hmm.
this is like social ostracization, which happens today. It happens today all the time, and these people. So I want to use this to talk a little bit about what I think, why I think this is just can only be described as evil. Okay, so first of all, it's important for us to understand that wokies are not crazy, at least like in terms of their sets of ideas. There may be some people that are in those movements that are, disturbed in some way. They probably have trauma in their past or something like that. And I say this with all sympathy. But this decision to tear everything down is not irrational. It is intentional. And this is the thing that a lot of people miss. They keep saying, oh, these people are crazy. No, this is evil on purpose. And I will explain. So, like, I made a video about the Acolyte. I think it was like when I didn't, obviously I didn't watch it, but like episode 3 came out and we learned about the thing that I suspected, which is, the twins were born of the Force to, to two lesbian space witches. Okay. And I looked at all of that and I was like, okay, so they're taking the virgin birth and they're perverting it and making it a feminist thing, which, by the way, this is what they always do. So, like, this is why these people are not atheists, okay? These people are not atheists because if they were atheists, they wouldn't bother attacking, like, the scripture, right? They wouldn't bother trying to invert anything. They would just not care. Like, I'm sure that there are plenty of atheists out there that just
They're
don't
subconscious
care.
Satanists.
Right. But these people
they might not even be aware.
No, these people think that they are aware because there is a lot of how do I put it? There's a lot of occultism in communism.
Right. What I mean by they might not be aware is they don't believe in anything.
No, I know. Yeah,
right?
But that's
so that's their past is like this, like, oh, I'm saying this to piss off the Christians and this and that, and it doesn't mean anything to me because it's just words. But it's like, yeah, but have you ever considered that maybe you are?
Well, that's what
possessed?
That's what makes it evil. Like some people say, well, Lat says, I think they attack it because its values held by the people they hate. Yeah, but they hate the values. That's why they hate the people. And so what they do is they just all they can do, and this is like quoted from Tolkien, right? He said, evil can never create, it can only corrupt that which has been made, by the good. So essentially, they don't know how to think in any other paradigm except reverse what already exists, reverse the established, what they perceive as the hegemonic established culture, and that is our way of attacking it. Okay, so Mr. Cornell says, preach, amen. Thank you. So this is on purpose, okay? And I will demonstrate. Okay, so Karl Marx, who's like the dirty, filthy, never bathing, nasty, like pus inflicted communist, like godfather, I guess. I don't know if you guys knew this, but before he wrote about economics, and I'm putting that in quotes, like gigantic quotes, before he wrote about economics, he was a poet and he was an artist, essentially. So much like other artists who were, shit at their job, he wasn't a good poet either. So he became resentful and he wanted to like say, well, look, it's not that I suck at everything, which I do. I mean, he sucked so much that he basically stole most of Engels' work so that he could write his shit. But it's everybody else's fault, and I'm going to prove it. And there is a favorite quote from Karl Marx. I don't know if you guys know this, but this kind of like, I'm going to use this to support my case. He had a favorite quote from what is it? The Divine Comedy. Okay. And I want to see if I can find it here, where he basically, it's a quote from Mephistopheles where he says that he will raise everything to the ground, like destroy everything. I gotta find the quote here. Hold on a second. I thought that this article had it, but what is Mephistopheles? Okay. Let me see more items. There's a dear friend Ulf. No, that's not it. Essentially what he says, it's in the Divine Comedy, which is Dante's Inferno. I think it's Dante's Inferno. Mephistopheles has, or Faust. I think it's Faust I'm thinking about. It's one of those. And he says essentially that all things must burn down. Like he wants to destroy everything, right? Everything that exists deserves to perish. Everything that exists deserves to perish. And ultimately that is Marxism. That is these gay race communists. And why is that? Because they believe that the only way that their way of living can have a chance is if the old way is destroyed. And you can look at what Mao did in China and all of these other communist leaders. Like when Lenin came to power, he was also like an occultist, by the way. And he thought of the idea of what he wanted to bring about, the Russian Revolution, or the Bolshevik Revolution, as a form of magic. That's what he was imposing. He basically had the czars killed and everything else. They basically destroyed everything. And one of the first things that came after was the church. And this is actually, it's funny. I don't want to go on too much of a tangent here, but it's funny because I think Vladimir Putin wants to restore the church, but for some reason, Zelensky is hell-bent on banning it. And I don't like Zelensky, and I don't really have an opinion on Putin, but I feel like I'm being lied to about him. And I don't know if anyone's going to arrive at something about this at some point. But what I'm saying is that these people want to destroy everything. So when they enter a company, when they start creating content and it's awful, it's on purpose. They're trying to tear it down. They're trying to remove all meaning from it. And they're trying to demoralize you, the consumer, for being a part of it. So that when you get like Star Wars Theory and he's like crying on a stream because he doesn't understand what happened to Star Wars, he has to understand that the communists are destroying it on purpose. They don't care if it makes money. They don't care if it's profitable. They want it all gone because the stories that we grew up with are kind of like where we find our grounding from. It's how we know we're like, aimed in the proper direction.
Which is I was gonna say it's the one other attack that we don't actually have the clip box for, but it is gaslighting, ostensibly the gaslight lampshade, the whole kind of like turning it around and putting it on the people that they victimized is like, well, we had to do this because you victimized us. And it's like, no, I think that you just kind of got like, really up into your, egotistical whatever. And now you're just kind of like, just putting out that wave of energy in every direction. And as we've said multiple times on many shows, these people can't see past the haze of their own projections because it's just on everyone and everything. So, I myself this last week, just a couple days ago, because one of their biggest forms of gaslighting is my civility. My civility. Why you gotta be polite? I don't have to be polite for shit. Especially when I'm gonna sit here and break down like this lie that you just politely put out there, thinking that your kind language is gonna somehow make people just forget that history is history. And it was this whole, someone had put up some stupid meme thing about the benefit of women in power and how we'll be so much better when women are in power because the world will see less war. And I said to this, I was like, all right, well, this is some bullshit right here, because all you have to do is look back through history and just about every single woman who's been in power has started a war. And it's and it's for their own reasons. And what I'm actually saying is women are equal, and they get pissed off because I just said women are equal to men in their shittiness. And like, and so like, it just turns into this whole thing. And I'm just basically like, I just responded to one person who said, look, I understand that you're mad at me because you think that I'm the bad man, but everything that you just did, all I did was go and say that you already have equality. And that's the thing, is I'm the person in this argument that you people are all sitting here like, you know, like, oh, we're the ones with moral majority. And I'm the one just arguing for equality and freedom and like, you know, actual, like, you know, like we all have to be accountable for our own shit. And so who are the ones that are actually being sexist here? Oh, it's all of you who are blowing smoke up your own asses, you know, trying to like, you know, just get high in your own ideas, thinking that you're somehow better than everybody because you frame it in civility. I care. I'm not going to call you a thing. And it's like, sometimes I'll just come right out and be like, look here, fucktard. I don't have time to like, you know, like mince words or sugarcoat any of this shit because you're not going to even listen to me to begin with. So I just have to like, kind of like, you know, like do a thing. And I know that that's kind of like, you get into that point where it's like, all right, well, are we adding to the distraction? Or are we actually kind of like adding to the discourse? And some of the stuff, you know, like the discourse will happen, maybe, but as we've been talking about, we are at the point now where it really is just kind of one of those things where it's like, they're not going to shift. They're not going to change. A lot of them, and maybe a small percentage, because I myself would say that I'm the weird type who actually saw himself through his bout of TDS and, you know, just wokeness and kind of like being saturated in civility and all that stuff. I mean, I've lived in the Pacific Northwest for a decade. I don't try to pretend to anybody that, you know, I wasn't affected by these things. And that's why I talk about the energetic state. And even if you don't think that these things have an effect on you, you know, they do, subconsciously, just, you know, like, it's that whole thing about normalizing stuff. And like, you know, like you just try to like be, you know, as chill as you can in your state of being. And if you live in a really woke ass part of the country, you kind of end up like being a little woke at times. And, you know, and there's nothing you can even really do about it. It's weird, but that's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like trying to say, where is the piss not in the pool? Well, once you piss in the pool, it's everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
So it's something that like, and that's one of those things. It's like, that's why I take the time to, you know, every couple of weeks, I just kind of like, you know, like I'll kind of do a little bit of self-meditation and kind of like, where am I at? What am I focusing on? How's all this stuff working? You know, like, am I still actually being as objective in this as I can be, or am I allowing myself to just kind of get swept up in whatever? And I mean, it's a difficult balance for anyone, but you know, like the woke, the tribe of the woke, they're so far off, you know, reservation at this point in time, out in the wild of what they're doing, that, you know, the idea that they're ever going to find their way home base again to kind of like collect themselves, I don't, it's not there.
Yeah, for sure. So, on the Acolyte video, I used the word, I think it was either demonic or satanic, to describe what these people were doing and what their beliefs are. And some people in the comments, they spurred out at me because they thought I was using like, I don't know, wooey language to describe something. And the reason why I'm not like, that was a long time ago, but I do want to address that, like, when something is, look, the reality is there is reality. And like, people, if they're not operating within the frame that they understand that reality exists and that there are certain things that are completely out of your control, then reality is going to slap them in the face. And we see it like with people who think, oh, I'm the opposite gender and my mom supports me and my teachers support me and I'm going to cut my tits off. And then like, you think that just because you have all this affirmation that you can make things the way that they are for you, but then later you're going to be like, oh, I'm depressed and suicidal and I feel awful. Yeah, because reality is hitting you in the face. And so when you're not operating within the framework of reality that exists, unfortunately, that is literally the description of unholy. It doesn't mean just stop thinking about Sky Daddy stuff. Stop thinking about Jesus Christ. I'm not preaching at you guys. I'm saying that the world is organized a certain way. that is where the root of holy comes from. And when you are not set up that way, when you're inverting it, that is unholy. That is like not in accordance with the natural order. You could call it natural order instead if you like. And so like these people, they are in fact intentionally being unholy. They are intentionally trying to destroy everything. And we have to call it what it is, which is evil. You could say satanic. I don't have a problem with that. And it's true. Like, I mean, they're and they know it. Like, this isn't something they shy away from. How many pictures of drag queens reading to children have them dressed up as literal demons, like with horns and everything? Like, and they think that what they're doing is they're owning the chuds, but they're just exposing what they are. Like they're leaning into it on purpose.